Ew.
Yo.
Yo.
Yo, what up? What up, 2024?
We're coming for you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You know, like, I don't want to come out with that, hey, we're coming for you type of energy.
I'm sorry, I'm humble.
Just, think about 2024 as like a beautiful babe, you know? You don't want to say that.
Sorry.
You want to say, what's up? I want to get to know you.
I'm looking forward to how we vibe together.
I want to be on you, in you, and with you. I am on you, in you, and with you. So please help make this easy for me. What is 2024 all about? Don't you wish that it could just tell us?
I mean, if you're like into the stars and shit, I mean, you could have someone tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the year, well, in February, Chinese New Year is the year of the wood dragon, which I'm pretty excited about that, being an earth dragon myself.
What's that mean? What's a wood dragon? What's that energy all about?
I mean, I'd want to refer to Google to give you a really good answer, but I think dragon's like a really powerful creature. So there's a lot of energy, some fire.
Yeah. It's weird. I associate dragons with gambling for some reason. And we're going towards a project that has something to do with gambling.
Oh, look at this shirt I decided to wear today, too.
Interesting. Wow. And look at the energy we're imbuing 2024 with already.
Yeah.
For Christ's sake.
The gambling addiction's coming for me.
It really is.
It really is.
You know, I'm like, I want to make a movie about gambling addiction. You're like, we should go gamble. I'm like, I gave that up. Like, I guess it's cute to you. You know, it's like a person that doesn't struggle with addiction being like, woohoo, through life. And it's like, that's cute, but I can't gamble. Not because, not necessarily because I'm a gambling addict, but because I don't like losing money. I don't like the whole feeling. I don't like getting pulled into that. I don't like chasing the loss. Yeah.
I don't really find myself at risk of that because anytime I lose money, I'm like, I'm never doing that again. And like,
you learn your lesson. That's why you're not a proper addict.
Yeah, what we put down, like you put like $250 down on one hand of blackjack and lost because some guy walked to the table and we're like, all right, we're done with this. And then we haven't gambled in like.
What the heck are you talking about? Slow it down.
Slow it down.
Some guy walked up and $250 and he lost, and I said, what the heck?
What the heck?
What are you talking about?
I don't know. I feel like the last time we were in Atlantic City must have been like 8 or 10 years ago now. We were like leaving the hotel and you're like, let me just play a hand or two. And you were feeling maybe you won a little bit. Maybe you can tell me better. But you were feeling like a little big dog. You did a $250 or something.
Yeah. I never would make that bet up front. That's usually like a bunch of circumstances happen. It's like maybe I've won a few hands and I put up a bigger bet. Like maybe
I just want to get off this table.
Yeah, maybe I put up like a $50 or $100 bet, and then there's a double down situation, and then maybe another double down situation comes up, and from what I remember, I to try to decode your little gobbledygook right there.
Yeah.
I think that there was someone sitting at the table that doesn't like when you're playing blackjack at a table, you're kind of all against the dealer. And when people don't know that and they don't really know how to play the game, they can really fuck you up. You know, they end up taking cards that should have been the dealer's bust card or whatever. And I lost $250 on like a situation like that. And I looked you in the eye and I said, I will never gamble again. And I did. And I won like $1,600. But it's weird. I don't care. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
I think that's fair. The way I think I've said this about gambling is that I don't think I'm good at it. Like we talked to Noah a lot about this. He's like gambling. He's like I'm not a good sports gambler. I put like $50 on the whole season of football or whatever, and I'm like that's smart. And then I want to take bets, and then I find out that I would have lost the bet if I had taken the bet. So
that's a good way of going about it.
That's kind of what Noah's doing. He's like I put like $100 in the game, and he like sees how he does by the end of the year to see if he's a good gambler, and he's like he never is. So
no one is.
Yeah, no, you're not meant to be.
Nobody is. I've started following this guy on Instagram that's like a baller. You recommended him to me.
Okay, yeah.
What's that guy's deal?
He knows some way. I don't know if he's scheming the system or very lucky, but he knows like some way to win. When he won like $11 million in Las Vegas and they banned him.
Yeah, he just puts up in his stories just like stacks of cash all over the place. And it's just like him partying with his boys, and there's just like always stacks of cash around. You don't like really see security or whatever. I'm like, this guy's got a giant target on his back. He films himself having sex with prostitutes and puts it on Instagram, just puts a little blur over their face. And like there's stacks of money like on this chick and all around her. And I'm just like, we got to interview this dude. We got to see what this guy's all about.
I'm glad you're doing the recon because I didn't know about the prostitute videos.
He is Vegas man. He is Vegas man. What the heck are you doing over there?
I spilled a little. Luckily, I have so many napkins.
Yeah. Well, we're sliding right into 2024. Me on the heels of strep throat for the first time, probably since I was a young boy.
Yeah, and we don't even know exactly how you got it. It's crazy.
Well, we did a live stream at Noah's.
We're going to blame Noah.
Yeah, I'll blame Noah. Because like we show up to his house, he's like, man, my kids just had strep throat. And I'm like, this motherfucker. You couldn't have told me that before we come up here. And 2 days later, I have it. So
I feel like I'm going to blame you, though, because I think you get into the headspace of, like, you were around someone else who was sick, and you were just, like, your body goes into defense, you know?
I don't know. I was already, I feel like, a little compromised. I was on the ropes. My immune, like, I hadn't had, like, a good night's sleep, so I was a little bit on the ropes. And then strep throat came in there. Got me.
With the KO.
Really got me. Yeah. Yeah.
You know
Fucked
it's
up.
bad when you're having to go to urgent care or whatever.
Yeah,
You're not
if
fucking
I'm
around.
saying like, hey, take me to urgent care, also keep an eye on me tonight, and I'm sorry if I pass away in the night. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. But man, does an antibiotic work? Good Lord.
Yeah, I hate antibiotics, but I remember that you need them, and like modern medicine is something to be grateful for.
Why do you hate antibiotics?
Oh, because they just do a number on your gut, and
Yeah,
you know, the idea is that you could become antibiotic resistant. I just think our culture over relies on antibiotics.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, it's a solid statement.
But it was pretty humbling for you, I feel like, because you were just like going through a lot and experiencing a lot, and
Yeah, I called it in, I think, because, you know, it did go through my head at some point a few weeks ago. I was like, I don't really want to drag this nicotine habit into 2024, another year of my life. Like, you know, just stupid. Stupid nicotine habit that's just getting more expensive because they know now everyone's addicted to these fucking Zens. So they just keep jacking up the price. And I'm just like, what am I doing? You know, but also at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to quit this. You know, and in my head, I'm like, well, the way I've done it before is you just get sick.
really,
Yeah.
that you had that thought.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I had quit nicotine for 9 months, a couple years ago, because we went and saw Bob Dylan, and I got sick, and I was like really sick for a couple weeks. I couldn't put one of those things in my mouth. I just couldn't do it, and I kicked nicotine, and it was awesome. Then on my birthday, I think my 41st birthday, me and Joey went golfing, and he handed me one of these things, and it started the habit again. It's why, like, you can't be trifling around with that kind of attitude. You know what I mean? It's kind of why I warn you with peace and love. It's like, it's cute, you bust my balls and you, like, want to gamble or whatever. That's not really my thing, but don't do that with nicotine. Don't fuck around with me.
yeah.
Don't fuck with me. You know?
No,
Like,
I'm not mad at Joey, but I think there was a little bit of like, he hands you one of these, you've been so good, and then he quits it, and it's like this whole journey of having to quit, and then you were.
well, first of all, shout out to Joey. He's my boy for life. He's a top
no matter
G.
how many times he gets you addicted to the Zins.
He got me addicted to them to begin with. Then I quit them, and then he comes back and he's like, come on. And I was like, all right, I'll take it. And then I get addicted to him again. And then he quits them and is all like, oh, yes, I'm substance free. I'm like, okay, good for you. You don't have stressful family breathing down your fucking neck all the time. Like, you know, I get it why you wouldn't need that as much. But like when I kick these things, like I really need to remain disciplined. So I'm 5 days nicotine free.
How's it feel?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I know that it feels good in an accomplishment type of way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really feel like I'm in like a detox right now. Like
Yeah.
I could only do this. We're up at your mom's in Maine. I can only do this here. And I knew that. That's why I'm like, did I call this in? Because I was like, I don't want to drag unnecessary habits into the new year. I also know the only place that I can kind of rid myself of habits is up here. Because it's just like quiet. No one's bothering me. No one cares what I'm doing. You barely care if I'm in a bad mood. You know when I am, and you just kind of leave me alone. So I kind of knew there was a window. And I also, it planted the seed in my head of like, man, I've been getting sick every January. It'd be nice to just get that done with in the week between Christmas and New Year's where nothing's going on. And like clockwork, strep throat comes, and I'm like, on Christmas, like my throat is closing. The next day we come up here, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it through the night. We get up, we get the antibiotic, and I haven't done any nicotine throughout all that or smoked any weed.
Totally, really.
I'm raw dogging life in 2024.
You're a raw dog.
I'm a motherfucking raw dog. I really am. Like, and it's a cool experiment to kind of bear witness to in my own head, because I'm kind of like purposely peeling back layers of chemical prophylactics that like prevent me from fully feeling life, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, oh, what's life gonna feel like now? Like, oh man, whoa, I'm a fucking handful. Like I actually like what's dawning on me is like a lot of this stuff I do for the people around me in a way, so I'm bearable and tolerable, and not like hyper masculine, intense person. And I'm just going without that right now.
Yeah.
We'll see how life feels. It'll be good. It'll be better.
I mean, I just feel like, why would you want to have something that you want to learn to self-regulate? Like, that's what we've been talking about, like with Ozempic or whatever. I saw someone talking about how it's kind of like an eating disorder. I mean, obviously some people really need it, but the thing with Ozempic is like it suppresses your body's natural urges for hunger, and that's what you were doing with nicotine. Yeah. And so now you're like very hungry, but that's okay because you're hungry. You're like able to listen to your body, or you're irritable. And I think if you like always anesthetize the irritability, you can't go in and through it, and you can't like look at where it's coming from, what changes you need to make, rather than, because then it's like, oh, I have this trigger, and instead of dealing with the trigger and transmuting the energy of the trigger, you're like, oh, I just always put this bandage when that trigger comes up, or when I feel anxious about life or my future or my relationship or my dynamic or whatever it is, or myself. I don't know. I'm very proud of you for doing it.
I was like, I have not been trying to make a big deal about it, or been like, I really wanted to get a few days under my belt before I even told anybody what I was doing.
Yeah, and I know you're not doing it, so I'm proud of you, and I hope that doesn't like dissuade you.
No, it makes me want to do it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be a good girlfriend by not like being on your shit or shaming you for doing it, or being like too congratulatory for not doing it, because I know it's your own journey.
Yeah.
But I think
you should lavish me with praises in like a week or two.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still getting over dealing with you coming off of this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point I threw nicotine at you. I was like, you need to stop. Whatever this is, this needs to stop. You should do nicotine for me, because...
Well, I mean, it's kind of what I was telling you on the ride up here. I'm like, I use this because like I don't want to be in a bad mood. I don't want to be in a bad mood around my family, and I'm not going to change them. And like, I've done my best at changing me. And, here's where the rubber meets the road. I need nicotine to get through my life with my family. And I keep telling myself that. But the truth is I don't. I don't need things to kind of block out the full experience of life. And if I do, I know they're there, but I just feel like I've done my dance with some of this stuff. Weed's a tricky one. I'm not really sure. But like that kind of just happened by happenstance. I was like, my throat's so fucked up, I can't rip dabs 24/7 right now. Mm. And then, you don't rip dabs 24/7 for a couple days. And like this, it's almost like it's like clarity and energy comes roaring back that I'm like, whoa, like, fuck, oh, I forgot that's what life is. Damn. Yeah, it's like, it's intense.
Welcome to the mud.
And the gates of hell are locked from within.
Yeah.
And it's not anyone else's fault. And I just, I just want to start developing some better coping mechanisms, I guess, for myself that aren't expensive or relying on some company poisoning me. Yeah.
No, I think it was even synchronistic. We tuned into, we love Duncan, and he was on Joe
Duncan Trussell.
Yes, we love Duncan. Duncan Trussell was on Joe Rogan, and they were talking about, Duncan was saying about the 3 days of hell. Like, we basically will keep habits in our life forever because we don't want to go through the 3 days of discomfort.
He was saying 2 days.
Or 2 days of discomfort or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it really does feel like the path to hell is like paved in our with our habits almost.
Yeah.
Or like the path to death. I don't know how I was framing in my own mind, but we're just, because with our habits, any habit that takes you out of the moment, you might as well be dead, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, I really don't even know fully what this stuff was doing for me. You know, I know what it feels like when you suddenly rip it out, and that's tough.
What does it feel like?
I mean, you saw me just very on edge, very on edge.
It feels like you were very vulnerable to a negative storyline.
Yeah.
Like maybe because you weren't feeling good or you were within withdrawals, or the storyline about everything became the worst storyline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like,
I mean, I'm like, I have a fever. I'm sweating all night. I'm dehydrated. I haven't moved my body. You know, like there's so many other factors. And then I'm like, let's get rid of my little friend's nicotine weed. See how this fares. And truthfully, I would love to do that without you having to bear witness to it. You know what I mean? If we had any kind of life where we could be away from each other for any amount of time, that's what I would use it for. You know, I don't need you to see me like that. I don't need your mom to see me like that. Hopefully she really didn't, but, you know, I'm doing my best. Just gonna raw dog life.
I like the idea of raw dogging life. Like, we're here, and the thing is, you don't end up raw dogging life because something always kind of fills it in, like a different type of, like you said, because I've been taking things out, and you're like, you're gonna just start indulging in food more. You know, there's always something that.
Well, I told you that's what I want to do.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I definitely use nicotine to be like, oh shit, I'm hungry. It's lunchtime. It's 3:00. Fuck, I know we're not gonna eat till 5:30. Fuck it, you know. Instead of just going and grabbing an apple or making a smoothie or a banana or something, you know, it's like my body needs fuel. My body needs energy, and it needs fuel to get that energy. And yeah, I was using nicotine as a shortcut. These little pouches, and I hate them. Really? I think I'm ready to say that. I don't know. I mean, I don't. Like, that's the thing. I like them, but like, I don't. It embarrasses me that you think I need a crutch. Like, that's honestly a big part of it. Like, I just see you just kind of blissfully raw dog life. I see you do it, and like, you're fine. Your mood is stable. And, you know, obviously that has a lot to do with, like, I was complimenting your mom today and saying you guys did a great job with Cass. She's probably the most well-adjusted person I know. She's very nice. She's not manipulative. She's not trying to get one over on anyone. You're very, like, innocent and sweet.
Yeah, but I had an innocent upbringing. You know what I mean? That's why I don't try to judge you. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like You've grew up a lot faster, and you've had to grow up differently. And I don't know. That's why I don't want to judge anyone on what they have to do. But I know that you want to figure out what your life looks like when you don't use a crutch. Like, I know you want to.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, there's curiosity at the very least. Like, and I mean, every time, because you've been sick, every time you get sick and I start to feel it coming on, I just do like very intentional breathing. I'm like, I think I could breathe my way out of this sickness.
Yeah.
And being contagious, and just like by oxygenating my blood and like moving the energy. And I mean, like, I'm not trying to be like cocky, like I'm never gonna get sick because I can breathe, but that's just
when you're like, oh, okay, I'm very susceptible right now. My boyfriend's sick. We spend every moment together. I feel something coming on. What else can you do? Start breathing. It's also the solution to my issue right now, because that's what was getting me through. Because like the thing about a nicotine craving is it's so fleeting. It's not like an ever present thing. It's not like, oh, this day is gonna suck. It's like, there's gonna be like 4 moments in this day that are gonna suck for me, and I can make a bigger deal out of them than I need to, or I can oxygenate my blood and just start taking deep breaths, and that helped me. And just reminding myself that it's temporary, that like that feeling, it's so hard to describe if you haven't had it before.
I was jonesing for something the other day that I was trying to quit, and I mean, with social media can be like that,
Totally.
where you're just
You know the feeling.
yeah, where you're just like, I don't even know what
Mhm.
to do with myself. Like,
Yeah.
I always grab for this thing, and I'm just like, you know, and that's good though. That's good though, because certain things are starting to fill in the gaps. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's slow but sure. You know, something else takes its place.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think like now we're coming up on like almost 4 years from when this quarantine started. I know people don't like hearing about it or talk about it that much anymore or anything like that, but that fucking fucked us up. Us and everyone else. And it's like it's so such our culture that like it's not like a huge talking point all the time. Like, whoa, what did we just go through? Is another one of those on the horizon? Like, I don't think we fully know how that it kind of affected our nervous system and our everyone's individual and collective like approach to life and approach to relationships. And like, I think we just see right now a lot of really weird symptoms of that, but we don't talk about it as symptoms of it. We talk about it as if it's the thing.
Well, I mean,
Like, why are men so weird? How come they're not committal? How come, just go name an issue.
no,
I'm like, we just got isolated.
I was just thinking about that last night, like psychologically, how that has affected us and almost affected like how we look at the future. And if we do look at the future, because there's our tightrope collectively got so shook
Yeah.
that we're all just like living in the like, I think in a way that's beautiful and can help us get closer, but like gratitude for today because we don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
And there's like a little bit, like maybe there's a little bit of unedge about that. And maybe it's causing people not to like dream or plan or feel like comfortable or confident investing in certain energy because they just like life can just, we all experience life getting shook up so much that it's like, fuck your plans.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's encouraging a more adaptable future. And I think that's what's required in this new age is like being adaptable, being resourceful, being more communal. I don't know. That's what I'm hoping for this year, at least.
Yeah, of course I'm hoping for those things. Yeah. It's just a tough thing, I feel like the quarantine and coronavirus and all that, it was like a double-edged sword. It kind of like, it helped the working class get a taste of like what freedom was like again.
Mm-hmm.
But it also isolated us further than ever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're dealing with the fallout of that now. And it's just it's just a very strange era. I think we'll look back at the 20s, a very strange decade. And hopefully not the beginning of like some sort of downfall that we've been experiencing, but
I know whenever someone's like, this is the hottest year of record, I'm like, this is the coolest year of years to come. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I try not to think about the weather that much. I honestly, I'm not kidding. Like, I don't know what thinking about the climate or the weather could possibly do to help my life. Like, what are you going to do about it?
Oh, I mean, with what I said, I'm grateful. Like, I'm not just being like, oh shit, everything sucks. I'm like, well, this is actually pretty nice right now.
Yes. Yeah. It pulls you back into that. Like, hey, if I'm to believe those narratives about all that stuff, shit's going to get really, really much worse.
Yeah, my mom lives like in coastal Maine, and she shows me where, like, since she's moved here, I guess it's been 5 years, how much the coast is just like swept away.
Oh God.
Like significantly, like these trees that have been here forever, like are just like their roots are just fully exposed and then just like falling into the ocean. And yeah, no, it's interesting to think like in 10 years, 20, 30 years time, where the sea levels will be or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You wanted to inspire less waste. That's what I'm like. That's all I'm thinking. Like, how can I be more resourceful, less wasteful? It's my interests are just changing. I just feel like collectively we're shifting from like there's going to be this pull towards being like consumptive people because that's what makes other people money is if we consume a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's going to be the tug and war, push and pull of people wanting to consume less and
Yeah.
and not having the means to consume as much as we have. I don't know where it's going to lead.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be like, maybe it'll inspire actually doing a universal basic income.
Well, that's what it comes down to for me. I'm like, okay, if all these narratives about climate change and catastrophizing our future and fatalizing everything are just leading to the working man having to, consume less and do this more, and like I read that like one of Taylor Swift's private jet flights emits more bullshit into the air than your whole life of driving a gas car. One of those. So there's nothing we're going to be able to do to stop this. I feel like a lot, like these narratives get introduced and they're like, and by the way, it's on you, the little guy, to not take as long of a shower.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what? What are we talking about?
I totally.
What I hope the narrative shifts to is, how are we going to better take care of ourselves? There's going to be a lot more economic and climate refugees. Massive populations are going to have to be moving around the globe over the next few decades, centuries. How are we going to make that easier? How are we going to make life better for humans? Because the corporatist approach to life has made it not as good for humans as it could currently be. So I hope that's where the conversation shifts, as opposed to this shame and blame of like, you used a plastic straw. How
totally. No, it's totally. Yeah, they're very.
You ate a hamburger?
Very intentional that we're all pointing fingers at each other instead of looking. I mean, the number one polluter in the world, I believe, is the
U.S. military.
U.S. military, with like how many $1 trillion unaccounted for.
We don't even know what they do.
It's a very sick industry, and you were telling me how all these companies that you wouldn't think make parts for bombs, like ball jars.
Yeah.
That's how in America you make a lot of money, is you join the military.
That's when you know you've really made it in America, is when you get invited into the party of, hey, we're going to filter Americans' tax dollars to you under the guise of defense. That's how you know you've truly made it into like an Illuminati level inner core of American society, is when you're like, great, ball jar. We appreciate you for your service getting all these ball jars out there all these years. And people are making pickles. People are having a great time. I drink out of one of these things. And then you find out that they're working with fucking Raytheon to, perfect the art of eradicating brown people around the world. So, and it's not just them. Like, that's just like the low-hanging fruit of an example. Countless companies. It's almost like you reach a certain level and they're like, all right, you're in on it.
It just shows you how insidious it is. Like this innocent, what perceptually would be this like innocent company that like helps people homestead by canning your fruit. Like everything about homesteading is like, how can you can fruit and vegetables that you grow? And your biggest ally with that is ball jars.
Yeah.
And then to know that your biggest ally with that you're supporting them, is also supporting death and destruction. But my point, I guess, it's not a point, but what I want to say is that we are the world. And so
we are the children.
And I think that, I'm not saying like I want everyone to be shame and blaming themselves into taking shorter showers or whatever it is. But I think if that's collectively where our consciousness goes, of like, hey, we love this place and we wanted to, like, you know what I mean? I think that that if the United States or the global population, if everyday people were just also on board of like that we want to have these type of habits, I don't know, I'm getting in the weeds, but it reminds me of, we watched that spooky movie that was executive produced by the Obamas. What is it called again? When the World Ends,
Leave the World Behind.
Leave the World Behind.
Okay.
And it's just showing how vulnerable we are as a population, and that I think to us when we watched it, at least to me, was like the bigger point wasn't be scared of other countries. The bigger point was like, hey, we're actually just like very unable to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
And anything could happen at any point. I'm not trying to be like
our
a scary
obsession,
person.
Our obsession with technology has rendered us pathetic.
Yeah.
And the thing about the technology that we're birthing is it's not going to be as reliant on clean air and clean water and this and that as we are.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be that thing's concerns. Like, we're birthing a super intelligence that is going to be beyond like earthly things like that. I just get concerned that we turn more and more over to that, and we turn into it. And I've talked about this before, but you just see people that have been raised by an algorithm and they become an algorithm, and it's just like, very concerning, very concerning. Like, just human qualities like being diminished,
Yeah, we keep removing ourselves from our humanness.
Yeah. And I think that's what that movie was pointing out. Was just like, when push comes to shove, we're going to have to rely on each other if there were to be some attack or major calamity or whatever it is.
That's my mom's big concern.
Yeah, and like, it's okay. So if that happened, you don't think that we'd immediately have to be like best friends with everyone in this cul-de-sac here? We're beyond that. We can't do it. Everyone's too addicted to their little reality tunnel of, whatever their things are. Working together is just like, it's so not an American value. It's so not a capitalist value that I think we have really lost sight of some things. I think that's what that movie was trying to highlight, but I think to me what it highlighted was like a much more nefarious, like disgusting thing. I don't know why a war criminal like Barack Obama would even be in the position to make a movie, and make a movie like that that's really like masks off like, hey, here's my dark, twisted fantasy. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Go fade into obscurity, you fucking criminal. And the rest of you fucking ex-presidents too. And all your staff, all the fucking everyone that surrounded you, everyone that convinced you to go against the people, everyone that convinced you like, let's leave the single payer option off of your gigantic healthcare revolution bill. And, it'll just be a gift to the insurance companies. Everyone that convinced you to go in and start drone bombing and like, fuck them all. They shouldn't be out there making movies saying like, oh, look how pathetic you've become. Like, you made us this way, motherfucker. What the fuck happened in 2008, dog? We put you in there. When push came to shove, when the economy collapsed, you gave the already wealthy our tax dollars? Why don't you give it to the people, motherfucker? Who the fuck put you in there? Oh, they put you in there. I thought it was us. I thought it was all this hope and change stuff. Okay, cool. Won't make that mistake again. I don't know. Motherfuckers like that radicalize me more than the Trumps of the world. Someone that goes in there, hope and change. I'm fighting for the people. I'm going to get you guys health care. We put them in there with a super majority, and they can't do it. Who's really in control here?
How do we keep a positive disposition? How do we keep up our PMA?
In light of all of that?
Yeah, in lieu, yeah.
I think turn on, tune in, and drop out. It's kind of what we've done. Like, we've done, like, we don't get braggadocious about it, but like, we've kind of done this like experiment of like, what if we just try not to pay attention to what's going on, like, in the news at all? Like, or like politics, or
for me, it's not
the
like
election cycle or whatever. Like, let's just not pay attention.
For me, it's like less about not paying attention and more about not paying attention to the spoon-fed news.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, no, I know.
Corporate news.
Corporate
narratives.
news, yeah, corporate news narratives. Because I mean, if you follow the right people on social media or whatever, the people are the press now.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
And it's a beautiful world. And it kind of feels like that's who should have gotten Person of the Year, is like
some Palestinian journalist.
Yeah. But
you know who got it? Taylor Swift.
I know. I almost want to read the article to be like, why are we that's how in denial we seem like the corporate entities want to be about what's going on in our world. Is like, here, just like have it be this pop star who makes all this money and has captured the hearts and minds of like this new generation, but like but it's not saying much of anything.
Don't think about all that. There's this pop star.
Yeah.
And like, remember, you just brought this up last night. I totally had forgotten. I blocked this out of my memory. We're hanging out with some friends, and this girl finds out, like, she's like, oh my God, Did you guys did you guys like see the new Taylor Swift thing? And I was like, I don't think I've ever heard one of her songs. Like I don't know. She's like, oh really? Wow. She's like a generational talent. She's like she's as good if not better than Bob Dylan. And I was like, really? In what way? And she's like, her lyrics. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That just was like, wow.
Hating on people.
What
who
have we
love,
become?
Yeah. I just,
We're putting Taylor Swift and Bob Dylan in the same conversation.
You
I mean,
say
I guess
nothing, you have nothing, you give nothing,
you are nothing.
You are nothing. And that's more what I'm saying about us keeping our hearts and minds on, like, I don't care what anyone else does, but for me personally, not doing it out of shame and blame, but like my ideas for, I think if we all like attuned our life for like, how can we support a better world, whether that's like through us expanding consciousness through talking to people and hearing where they come from and helping people become more connected through film and cinema and documentary. You know, that's, I'm not trying to like pat ourselves on the back, but I think that we have...
That should be everyone's goal in every job or art form or career or approach to your adult life is like, how do I bring people together? Or that's the most important thing. How do I bring people together?
It's one of the many important things, like community, but it's like, how do we make a better future? It's
through
like
community.
the broader aspect of
community heals, and community heals through accountability, really. And it's not through strict sets of rules or whatever. It's just simply because we all want to feel accepted and loved. Mm-hmm. So surround yourself with people that are like-minded, and it'll begin to heal you, right? Like I'm saying, like I look at you, the person I spend the most time with, and I'm like, you don't have a bunch of fucking annoying, expensive little vices that you got to constantly be putting something in your mouth and fucking smoking a little thing and, you know, just twisting reality just enough to make it work for you. Like, you don't have to do that. So I'm like, that's inspiring. I'm going to try that, you know? And Joey did it. And I'm like, I can, if Joey can do it, I can do it. And then by me talking about it on here, there's like a little bit of accountability. You know me. I don't want to go back on something.
Once you say you're doing something, you keep doing it. Well,
yeah.
I think that's what's fun about it is because you kind of get bored. You can get bored with how you're doing life, you know, even if it's working for you.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that's your experience, but like you're just, it can kind of get old. Like, okay, I do this thing every day and this is how I treat this emotion. And this is how I treat this feeling. And this is how I respond to this urge. I've
become so aware of it that I'm like, hey, Cass, there's going to be a time every few months, maybe once a season, where we're gonna need to scratch a compulsive itch, or something more addictive might take the place of that thing.
Yeah, I have this deck that I love. It's like called your like angel deck, oracle deck. I don't know what it's called, but ask your guides. And one of the cards that I always pull is like, don't deny or ignore your inner child, because if you do, they will throw one hell of a tantrum.
Yeah.
And I love that reminder because you can get these ideas of like things need to be serious, and then but that we all have an inner child, and like the wonderment and the love and the excitement and the playfulness and the pushing the boundaries, because I think that's also what it is. I mean, I understand the compulsive itch, but there's a little bit of something about like when you're a kid, you want to see like how far, that's how you know you're alive. Is like, how far can I go? Where are the edges of this experience?
Yeah, yeah. I think that the you know, off the top of my head, I think the main way that myself and other people can, that they deny their inner child and quash that little fucker out, choke them out, is by catastrophizing and doom and glooming the future. Yeah. You know, that's you saying like, I'm so adult, I've collected so many data points, I know where this is going, I see, you know, and it's, what you're taking away is that little child's ability to have hope for themselves. And if you take that away from yourself, like for me at least, I'm in no man's land. That's why I was yelling at you the other day. I was like, Cass, if we're going to keep taking fun things out of our life, or if we're going to keep making the fun things like very serious, can we just have a fucking kid? Can we just like cut out the middleman here and just fucking have a kid? And like, if we're already behaving in this like, oh, let's get strict and let's make sure that it, like, if we're not, you know, like, let's just do the fucking ultimate, what we consider the boring thing for us. Like, let's just fucking do it. Fine. Whatever. It'll take up our life. We'll love it. I've never heard of anyone that's had a kid regret having a kid. maybe, I don't know. But usually you're like, hey, I love this fucker. It's the best thing I ever did.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know that's why you have to keep catching me, and that's like what our dynamic is. Sometimes I have to catch you, and sometimes you have to catch me because, it's like to keep that PMA.
Yeah.
There's a balance of like acknowledging it, but also like maintaining hope, or just also the excitement that everything that happens also creates like everything negative creates like an opposite positive reaction. You know what I mean? It's not just like all bad or all good. And I was also reading that or listening to some Alan Watts the other night talking about how the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
That's good.
And that's really good for me as of late because, I've tried to do what I thought were some generous things around the holiday, but it's ended up like being like, I don't know what's right for people. I don't know what's best. I don't know. And to have this idea that I know how to be generous or I know what they need or whatever is like very, self-centered or something.
Yeah.
Or egoic.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't thinking of it like that. I was just like, it's the fucking holiday. I want to be nice. I want everyone to know that I support them or whatever it is. And then I of course came across that and I was like, oh yeah. I forgot.
It doesn't mean don't do good deeds or have good intentions and all that, but like, just don't get fucking righteous about it and think you know everything or know what or expect the intended outcome.
Yeah.
Especially with my family, because they will not give you that satisfaction. So you can say, hey, I know the solution to this family's 45 years of issues. I'll be extremely generous about Christmas. Well, shit. On the other side of that experiment, you're going to be a lot more like this family than you were before. You're going to be bitter. You're going to say, why didn't they fucking say thank you? Why the fuck they barely... No, I know. I'm just saying, slippery slope. Okay? Do another Christmas like you did this year next year. Get the same reaction and see if it doesn't start hardening you a little bit. Yeah,
no, it's not exactly. But it's also like, that's the big thing. Not even to get in the details, but like to go into a family dynamic and try to like get in the mix. It's like, no one wants me in the mix. No one wants to be thinking about me. I don't need to be putting myself in the middle of your family tension or drama or lack of communication or lack thereof. You know what I mean? Like,
they love you, and it's like, God, it's actually, I never thought about this till now, but it's like the perfect training ground for the evolution of your soul. Like, how I always say, like, we choose our families. It's like, you didn't get to choose who my family was. I chose them before I got born, but like, you didn't get to choose who they are. Like, they come into your life and they happen to fit like a glove the type of people that would need to evolve you in the way you need to evolve, and just making you a little bit more kind of realistic and like, and just the way you affect and soften them and the way that they affect and make you a little bit more real.
Yeah, no, I hope it's mutually beneficial,
Yeah.
in that evolution of our souls. But that's how I feel about every person you meet. It's like,
yeah.
Like we're meant to meet each other. And that's what's so exciting about life. And as someone who's such a, not only an introvert, but agoraphobic,
Yeah.
It's really good for me to remember that going out in the world is like, you never know who you're going to meet and how they could evolve your soul or every moment and every, it's like,
that's the only thing that keeps me going.
It's designed. It's in the stars. It's destiny.
Yeah.
You're that little moment you share is destiny. And you've probably shared moments in other lives with those people.
For sure. Yeah, I gotta pee real quick.
Okay.
Hell yeah. A little easier to conjure that PMA when you don't have to pee. MA.
Yeah, no kidding.
This time of year, well, especially like we're recording this January 1st, it's like it's a little easier to tap into PMA. Like where it really starts to get in the weeds is like February, March, at least for me.
Oh, right now you got the high of like, all right, how am I going to do this year differently?
Clean slate energy.
Clean slate.
And everyone is collectively kind of in the same mindset as us. Like, let's do it a little better. Let's try to do it a little bit better this year. Like people have New Year's resolutions. Like, that's fucking awesome. That's so cool.
Do you have any?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. They're always very personal.
Yeah, you don't have to
Like
share.
last year, well, I could talk about it now because I actually did it, but like last year I was like, I want to have I want to floss every day. Like it sounds silly, but what that and I did it. And what that turned into is like a getting ready for bed ritual that is like kind of like a meditation for me, and it takes like 15 or 20 minutes. And it involves brushing my teeth twice with 2 different toothbrushes, flossing, and using this mouthwash, and like I do some pull-ups while I'm doing the mouthwash. Like I just have I'm like, wow, my old ritual was just like brush my teeth and go to bed, and now it's like, no matter how stoned out I am, no matter how crazy it's been or whatever, how tired I am, I force myself to do this like 15 to 20 minute ritual to like honor my oral hygiene. I don't know. It didn't seem like worth talking about it last year at this time or at any other point, but now that I did it, I'm like, that's cool. Now it's a habit.
Yeah.
Now it's a habit I can't imagine not doing. I
Yeah.
can't imagine the person that wasn't doing those things.
It's funny that you hit a certain age and then it's like, fuck, I gotta floss.
Yeah.
I mean, you should probably hit it, and you've gotten me to hit it. I floss like once a week, once a month. I don't know.
No, just be real.
I don't floss.
Yeah, you have beautiful teeth. You're somehow fine. You somehow have skated through 35 years without stretching or exercising or flossing or whatever. And I always say, I'm like, Cass, this shit caught up to me. Do it now. I got 7 years on you. Do it now. Like, start stretching. Like, when you see me start stretching at night, get in there with me. And you're like, I will one of these days. So that's why New Year's resolutions are cool. Because it's just like, hey, if not now, when? Like, what are you going to wait till next year to make this fucking resolution?
Totally.
To start, like, brick by brick, building a new temple of habits that can benefit your life and make you a little bit of a better person. Like,
yeah. Life-affirming habits.
Yeah, not death-affirming. Life-affirming habits, moving your body. Like, I've gotten into some really good rituals that work for me. I don't know what works for other people or how other people get by, but it seems like other people have an easier go at it than me. Like, it feels like I have to do more things to get to the, like, all right, cool, I'm firing on all cylinders.
Well, I think you have a high standard for how you want to show up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That creates.
I'm not going to lower my standard for how I want to show up to life. I'm instead going to do what I got to do. And yeah, there's a bit of a reckoning happening with me and just beating myself. I'm not the worst about like beating myself up. Like, I think you know me long enough. I don't even think you'd make that a defining quality. Like, oh, Sean really beats himself up. But when I do, it's bad, And if I get in my head, you pathetic piece of shit, you fucking need nicotine. You fucking hated that your dad was addicted to the substance, and now you are. Fucking, like, for the flimsiest little buzz that pretty much you can only tap into once a day, and then you're chasing the dragon the rest of the day. What are we talking about?
I know, and there's all this stuff about like, oh, nicotine's good for you, but I'm like, what is that artificial flavoring? What is that shit? There's no way that doing anything all day, every day is like...
Who's telling us that too? Nicotine's good for you. Some fucking podcaster that has a bunch of nicotine sponsors, you know? Like, I'm just throwing that out there. Like, the Hubermans of the world, they seem to be great guys with great ideas or whatever, but it's just
well, he's saying,
bro, why would you fucking tell people that, like, this expensive addictive habit? Like, you're telling poor people who are trying to better their life, they're listening to your podcast, they're trying to figure out ways to better their life, to say, hey, nicotine's good for you. Do you know what you're doing to people by saying that? As a doctor, as somebody with a platform, as somebody that gets out to a lot, like, saying like, yeah, nicotine's good for you. And it's like, yeah, anyone that takes it would know, yeah, of course, it for 5 seconds can help a conversation or help a thought get out or whatever, or quell like an intense feeling. It should be few and far between that you're relying on that,
Well, I think it's also, the idea is that it's better than smoking or vaping.
Yeah.
And that's, but nothing comes without a little cost. And that's where I think it's like we were with a friend the other day and you were like, she was like, oh, I quit spliffs and I've been clean or whatever. And you're like, I do these things. And I was like, you put that
Don't
away.
show her.
I was like, you put that away. That is not her problem. You know
No,
what I
she's
mean?
strong. She's strong.
She's strong, but it's
I
like,
could tell.
but it's also one of those, you understand what I'm saying. Like someone's like, hey, I don't do nicotine at all anymore. And you're like, oh, I do these things. And you show them and it's like, you know what I mean? You just like.
We should have her on and talk about that because like the way she quit smoking was really cool, and it involved a piece of art that basically she was like painting her lungs as they were getting healthier. Like this painting was coming to life over the course of 6 months, and she has a great way of talking about it. But yeah, it's just really interesting. I could probably also like maybe I'll do this with Joey at some point, a whole boys club where we just make fun of the new alpha brain trend. That's what we call like people that like
Optimize.
Optimize. Yeah, like people that are just like optimize. And it's like I'm like that.
No,
I know
totally,
that.
yeah.
I know that. But
as soon as you listen to Huberman for 5 minutes, you're like, all right, the lights are red tonight.
Oh, you told me, you were telling me for 6 months, you're like, you should get on this guy. You should fucking listen to this guy. Like he's right up your alley in terms of like dialing things in. And I'm like, I don't know. Because I know once I give into it, I'm going to give into it.
You're going to be a total alpha brain.
Yeah. But like now this guy's been on the scene long enough where I'm like, all right, you fucking twisted joker. Like I stumbled across his subreddit the other day and like people are talking about like, hey boys, how many times a day you masturbate? You know, I'm down to 3 times a day, but like I want to get it down. Like I'm like, hey, guys, what are we fucking doing here? What are we doing? Like, I'm all about like getting behind the control panels of your life and like taking control of things and like.
But don't fuck with your orgasms.
Don't fuck with my orgasm. No, but like, it's just I just feel like we're in the weeds, and I'm like, whatever. It's ultimately harmless, but it's also just like so laughable to me.
Well, it becomes like a full-time job sometimes, when you're just like, all right, I got to do everything perfect. And then anything that's not perfect, it's like, well, fuck, I'm not going to sleep as good tonight. And it's like anything that just like creates tension and then creates a wall between you and other people you're relating to because of your habits that need to be like respected. Like it becomes too serious. It's like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the part of it that's really funny to me is like, how is that like, they're literally sitting there on a subreddit talking about like what's the appropriate amount of times to masturbate per day to get the dopamine right and this and that, and I'm like, none of it is done with a sense of humor. That's kind of what that's where I'm like, oh, this is my wheelhouse to make fun of this shit. Like these it's just creating like such a self-serious type of guy, like a hyper masculine. I think that's what weed has helped me with. It's like I'm hyper masculine, and then I smoke this shit, and I'm like, I don't care, I'm good. I don't know what I was going on about.
Yeah, no, but I think it's like you not caring kind of like throws the baby out with the bathwater sometimes.
I care. What do you mean? About nootropics and shit?
No, like about our life. You're like, oh, I just want to be chill. I don't want to look at the bank account. I don't want to worry about anything.
I know. It fucks me.
Yeah, and it fucks both of us. Not to blame you or anything, but it fucks both of us because we're on like this vibe of like, look, it's too stressful. I'm like, I want to do this. But then it's like, we get to a point where we're like, however many years old, we still have to like get through this life and work it out. And it's like, because you're like, oh, I don't want to stress about this. And I'm using this other thing to not stress. Then you kind of like wipe the whole board of I'm not going to stress about anything. And then it becomes something that's in your subconscious. And then it just like comes up like a demon
it
child.
starts eating you alive. And like, I think what it is like, I don't know if you would agree, but like, I think I get hyper focused on whatever it is. You know what I mean? And I'm like, if I have a sense of our finances and the money coming in and going out, I'm going to become hyper focused on it, and I'm going to become a hyper capitalist.
Yeah.
And I've already done that. I didn't smoke weed till I was 30. What do you think I was doing before then?
Yeah, no.
Making money, baby.
Making that money.
Fucking making deals, scamming people, doing my thing.
I
was just genuinely making a good living,
yeah.
and trying really hard to get some imaginary number on an imaginary screen to go up. And it never led to happiness. And I had more access to happiness when I didn't focus on that stuff. So then I hyper not focused on it. And then I hyper focus on like a weed life that is very chill and works for me. And it feels like it's honoring an inner child that never got to fucking have that,
And now your inner child has had how many orgies, and they're like, okay.
Yeah.
Then your inner adult is like, what about me, bro?
Pretty much. That's the reckoning that's happening now. you know. Yeah, I don't want to judge myself too hard for
I'm
any
not
of it.
judging you.
I'm more just like in the mindset of like, all right, what can I add and take away and see how that feels. And
Yeah, we're all just doing alchemy.
yeah. Like, let's see how life feels without nicotine. I know why I needed it. Like I was talking about it before. Like I know why I needed it, of course. And it really really came into hyperdrive during the quarantine. Like I don't know what else to say. Like nicotine wasn't a big part of my life before the quarantine, and then it started and it became a huge part
That's
of my
when you
life.
got into Hoppe real hard?
That's when I was like really, yeah.
Really? I feel like it was even before that, maybe.
Yeah, but like I peaked out on that shit
During the quarantine.
during the quarantine, and like shortly after we had our thing with Carrie, I was like, I gotta stop blowing this shit up my nose 10 times a day, all day, every day.
Yeah.
Blowing some jungle dust up my nose. What are we doing?
I'm not like the person to talk to about addiction or how to get off of things, but I think having like a plan, like having goals and being like, okay, when I have a craving, this is how I'm going to respond to that craving.
That's why I was being upfront with you about food.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think that part of the thing I was using nicotine for is to like not becoming like a hungry, angry person.
Hangry.
I don't want to get hangry.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to lash out or have anything like that going on. So I'll use this thing and it'll get me by. And it's crazy because every day you'll come out and be like, hey, do you want some avocado toast or an apple? And I'm like, and you're like, I'm going to have a snack. Do you want some? And I'm like, nope, I just put nicotine in because I had the same thought as you at the same time. And instead of treating it with food and the nutrients my body's calling for by being hungry, I'm just quashing that out with nicotine. And it's so temporary. Gives you no buzz, no relief. And after a while, it doesn't even help with like mood enhancement.
Mm.
It actually does the opposite. So now when you don't have it, your mood is shit.
Yeah, I'm not saying you were unjustified in having a shit mood, and like I'm not undoing all the things that you said and to me and needed to communicate as if I didn't hear them or respect them.
No, they're real things. They're just the emotion behind them is so heightened because I'm hangry.
Yeah, no, it's hard. It becomes hard to talk to you in a real way.
Yeah.
Because these are real things that we both need to talk about, but it's like there's no accessing you because you're hijacked by this, I guess, withdrawal or whatever it is.
Like I have the utmost respect for anyone that's ever quit anything that wasn't working for them anymore.
Yeah.
Especially some sort of addictive chemical, especially smoking. Because with smoking, it's like, it's beyond nicotine. There's the ritual. It's like, oh, I roll a cigarette, then I fucking light it, and I smoke the thing, and I look cool when I smoke the thing. I have to step outside when I do that, and that kind of gives me like a little bit of like an outlaw feeling on my life, and like, fuck it, and it's just fucking straight up insidious. It's so hard to quit, and there's no detox or rehab for doing that thing that's slowly killing you.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, no, it affects your sense of identity, your emotional regulation, habits. Like there's so many levels in which this becomes ingrained and patterned into your being. Yeah. So you're not just like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. You have to like see yourself as a non-smoker and see yourself as a non-drinker and have a plan in place for what to fill that in with.
Yeah, and also to realize what it was to begin with and take it beyond like, oh, it's nicotine. No, it's dopamine. Mm-hmm. It's dopamine. I need dopamine right now. And while I'm trying to get off nicotine, I'm not going to go into complete dopamine withdrawals. I'll just replace it now with something else that I know I'm not going to get addicted to or whatever. Like, I'm never going to be a fat fuck. I could stuff my face all day, every day. I'm never going to gain a pound. So I'll use food for a while, and I'll use it to feel a little bit different when I want to feel a little bit different, because that's all it is. It's just a feeling where it's like, I don't want to feel like this right now. What can I do?
All the conversations about dopamine have made me want to get fewer dopamine releases, but bigger dopamine releases.
Well, that's why, like, what's a crazy one to me, the example I was getting to actually, is sex. Mm-hmm. Like every movie, everything you've ever seen is like people have sex and then they immediately light up a cigarette. That's like dopamine on dopamine. and like after sex, like your dopamine is fucking through the roof. Yeah. It's probably the most like natural dopamine you can tap into,
I think besides like a cold plunge.
Yeah. But how natural is that? I'm talking about connecting with a woman, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
It sets off all those chemicals like a crazy thing. And like the idea that like the other day, it's like we had sex and then afterwards I'm like, oh, I normally would like pop one of these things in my mouth. I'm like, wait, I already have the dopamine. Because that's all the nicotine would give me. Cass just gave it to me. And it just gave me like that second that just, God, you just need to create a little bit of space for light to come through. A little bit of space for light to come through. And that's all it was for me in that moment, is realizing I already have the dopamine. And that light, that little space got a little bigger in that moment.
That's cool.
And that's all I'm working on every day right now. And this is why I think it's insane that anyone quits anything without isolating themselves.
Yeah, no, because you were sick and I had my period, like also.
Just perfect. I was like, I like, if I'm not gonna quit nicotine now, I'm not gonna quit it.
Well, but you were also like, you weren't only withdrawing from that, but it was like we weren't as connected, and then
I was going through sex withdrawal, nicotine withdrawal.
I think that's the perfect thing to do at an end of the year, is to just totally humble yourself and just. Because you start a new year, and I think what really propels us forward is like gratitude, are like grateful for what we have. And sometimes you need to feel what it feels like to not have those things, to have the gratitude for when things are popping off, and have the goal in mind of like, wow, it feels so good when I finish a movie. That dopamine hit is so worth all the trials and tribulations that'll take to get to that moment. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not even going to get into it now, the rabbit hole of like, this is what I mean when I talk about all the time, how like collectively, like we fucked our reward systems up.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, we want to talk about other things on this podcast, but it's literally, we just talk about whatever the biggest thing is in our life. And it's like, because of culturally social media or addictive substances or food or porn or whatever it is, it's like,
do you know what it used to take to see a naked woman?
Yeah.
You could go your whole life.
Yeah.
If you were an ugly motherfucker, you could go your whole life not seeing a naked woman. Like our reward systems are completely fucked up. Like I've talked about it on past podcasts, but it's probably been a while, but like all these beautiful women in our life that are like, my boyfriend can't get it up or doesn't care about having sex, or like I can't even meet a decent guy, or like I don't even bother anymore. And it's like, they're addicted to porn. I'm so sorry. They are. I already know without knowing. They're addicted to porn. Their reward system is all fucked up. Seeing your naked body, it's not going to hit the same way it did back in fucking the 80s or the 1880s, the 1780s. It's just not going to, it just doesn't hit the same way. And across the board, that's the whole thing. What we've done is like, we've fried out all those receptors. Mm-hmm. And I'm not just talking about sex. I'm like, across the board, it's just fucking way too easy to take something or do something that sets off those things that we used to have to work really hard to get to,
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And
that's why we're raw dogging this year.
That's why we're raw dogging this year. And it's like, okay, I want to be like, I look at last year and I'm like, okay, I wasn't in a position to give money, but I gave money because that's the best way I could be generous. And now I'm just like, well, I need to be more creative with how I'm generous and how I show up for people and what I can offer. And I think that I'm like, there's an old life where I was in a position to be like, oh, I got your back. Here's money. Like, you guys, whatever. And it's like, now I'm just like, oh, I like my generosity. I have to be more creative in what people actually need in this life. Not, even if they do technically need money might not actually be what they really need, for me at least.
Yeah. Well, it's commendable, and it does help people, and it's extraordinarily generous. And I do, in a fucked up way, think it's like a good karma for our life to give away money we don't have. Like, I do think it's a good prayer in our life that eventually you and I will be like, fuck yeah, I'm glad you fucking did that. Like, I know I freaked out because I don't know how much money we have, but when I find out how much money you gave away for Christmas, it disturbed me.
Yeah.
It disturbed me. And I'm like, hey, is that based on, did we really need to do that? Like it disturbed me in the way of like, hey, were you on one and feeling really guilty? And then gave away our money that we were saving up to make the movies? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think everything plays into it, but I think I did mushrooms and I don't know if it was guilt as much as like, I just felt like immense abundance. And I don't think that's like,
I think you were tapping into something real. I think you were tapping into like almost like a precognition, because I feel it too. I'm like, it's kind of why I haven't taken us being broke that seriously, because I'm like, it's not going to be for long. Like, we have so many goddamn irons in the fire. We're not sitting around here waiting for crypto to go up or something. We're doing work.
Yeah.
You know, like, we don't run a scam thing. We do work, and it eventually leads to money. But it's not always immediate. But I feel it coming. So as much as I want to freak out about you giving away the money we don't have, I'm like, I don't know. I think it's kind of badass. I think it's cute. I think it's it sets off real feelings that I think I should be allowed to talk about.
Yeah, of course.
And it sets in motion dynamics that I don't think you understand fully. But it is badass.
And I think when you were like, is this how you're trying to get my attention? I'm like, yeah, I didn't know that, but maybe, you know, because like this whole like, oh, I'm not thinking about money or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, if we're not going to think about money, let's not think about money. Like, what is money? Who cares? What is it even? You
Yeah,
know what
exactly.
I mean?
You give away our money, and I'm like, I'll stop smoking weed and taking nicotine and being completely out of it. What's going on?
Yeah. Literally.
Totally.
Literally, that's what happened. And it's like, it hasn't been fun, and I'm eating my karma on this one. But I can't help but always trust, because it's a more fun way to live, that things happen for a reason, and that things are correcting course, and that, you know what I mean?
Look, and you got it from me. I've always been a give it away person. You know,
Yeah,
I've never been uptight about money, resources, our space, or, you know, our living situation, whatever. Give it away. If someone needs something and you can provide it, give it to them.
Yeah.
I've been that way about our whole film career.
Yeah, no.
You know, give it away. I'll talk about in every interview exactly how we did whatever it is you're curious about how we did. I'll give it away so you can go do it. You know, I don't care. I don't want to be uptight, because I don't want people to be uptight with me.
Yeah.
But man, that made me uptight.
I know.
And it was really good humbling at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And a really beautiful lesson from my beautiful woman, that just to show me what's more important than life, you know.
Yeah.
What are the
Well,
more
I mean, I
important
just
things?
like, we prioritize having such a good time.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, not that I don't feel comfortable and shame, but I'm like, I want someone else in our life to have as good of a time, or like show that we care, just like kind of just put that as like a less selfish priority, like our good time. You know what I mean? It felt like, and then that's why you're like, we should just fucking have kids, because, you know.
I'm like, I see what you're doing, and I know where that instinct comes from,
Yeah.
and it's a biological urge,
Yeah.
and you want to take care of things and people, and we can do whatever. I don't know. Let's see how it goes. We can do whatever.
We have a lot of energy, and I'm very excited about this year. We have a lot of ideas, and I like think that we're looking at different ways to be like more on the same page and more with each other, and go in and through difficult things, and and realizing. I think there was the year of like, oh, I'm just like trying to survive being at my parents', and then you're like getting into a place where you're like, okay, let me try to thrive here, and now it's like,
Yeah.
hey, if I need to survive here, maybe I'm not meant to be here. And it's like there's like a natural evolution that continues to happen, where it's like, okay, how can we truly be there for your parents in the best way? And maybe that doesn't necessarily mean us being there every day, you know, because we need to make money so we can support your family. You know what I mean? Like, it's like this weird thing of like wanting to support them physically, but then also realizing you need to support them financially, and just being like, wait, what? How do we do both?
Well,
you know?
and like the thing we're trying to do is like it's beyond us. It's like, oh, we want to take care. Like, oh, my parents have been just worried about Katie. Like, we can offer them respite. Like, we're not working day jobs. Like, we can come offer our help and our at whatever. We'll offer everything. Like, they've been through it. You know, they've been taking care of Katie for 36 years, having out of control seizures. Cool, we're here for it. Then you realize when you're here for it, you're like, oh, this is a slog. This is life. Katie's gonna have seizures, and she's gonna keep living, and she's gonna need to be taken care of beyond physically. And once my parents aren't here, who's going to do that? And will I have taken myself out of the workplace for so long that I'm useless to it? Already, I think I have. So, you know, you kind of start putting yourself between a rock and a hard place. And I'm like, yeah, that's where the tension starts to come in. But what relieves it is just knowing we have community, and we have friends, and we have people that want to see our work, and we have ideas for what that work should be.
Yeah, the tension is a gift. That's what I'm trying to get into.
This weight is a gift.
The weight is a gift, and I think that's like, you kind of gave me some valuable lessons towards the end of the year, because like I was trying to fix things when I should have just been more open to feeling things.
Yeah.
And
and
like allowing things to be, and trust that I would be generous when it was time to be generous, and know that in my heart, and not be preemptively like, here, let me try to solve your problems.
Overcompensating for what you perceive to be your misgivings as a family member, and overcompensating for the tragic story other families have told about themselves, and think you're going to be the hero of the day. It's
I
like,
don't even be the hero. I just like, it's not even like I saw
no, I
that.
know you're not even like that. It's just more like, I can solve this problem, I'm going to do it. And I think it's a commendable quality, but I also think we need an in-breath.
But it's also my way of avoiding just feeling it and just being like, okay, like, sibling dynamics are hard.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing I can do to make this dynamic easier. There's no quick fix. There's no, like, and as someone who doesn't have a sibling, I, like, don't
it's
understand.
Cute. You don't really understand. It's really cute. It's cute that you think you can take what's been a tense thing for 40 plus years with me and my sister and solve it with money. And that's not going to make things worse.
I know.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to let you run these experiments and, figure your life out for you. But I'm going to have a say in it moving ahead.
I did get your consent.
I know.
Yeah.
We're going to be on the same page. Let's hop over to the Patreon. Let's do a little afterglow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just talk a little bit more.
We were up in the air of whether this would be an afterglow or not, so.
Oh, this is a great episode.
Okay.
We're starting the year off strong.
Okay, good.
What are you talking about?
No, it's good. I'm just finding out for the first moment how you feel.
Oh, you thought that this was going to be a Patreon episode, and that we might record a real one?
I didn't know.
What are we going to talk about on the real one?
I don't know.
That we have new sweaters and T-shirts and hats. Buy our sweaters and T-shirts and hats. We have very high quality merchandise, and it's tasteful.
Yeah, I love that hat. I wear it every day. The sweatshirt is my favorite thing. Everyone who has gotten one, at least that I've heard back from, has said these are like legit. These are like, my mom, when I gave her one, she was like, this is like the most, I've never seen even a sweater this legit. Like, that's
how I feel. We went out of our way to buy the most legit. Like, if we're going to sell stuff, I want it to last. I want it to be good. I want it to be someone's favorite thing. And it's really hard to get that across until people have received their orders and they're like, oh, you weren't fucking around.
Yeah.
And now that we've had that wave of people, I think the rest of this will sell out. So
yeah, well, it's like,
get them while you can.
Yeah. They're awesome.
What's the website?
Everything can be found on our website, veryape.tv. So super simple, or churchofchill.etsy.com.
And we'll send you stickers for free.
Yeah.
Just gotta send us your address.
Yeah, DM me your address on Discord or Patreon.
We have like a solid sticker pack. We've produced so many stickers.
I love stickers. I don't know if everyone shares my enthusiasm for stickers, but I have a great enthusiasm for stickers. And hey,
like-minded heads do.
And if you feel uncomfortable just asking me for stickers, you can send me stickers. So I will do a trade. I'm always, and if I don't need stickers. Seriously, it's the joy of my life to send these out. So do not feel self-conscious if you're not sending me stickers. I don't know how to say that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
don't feel self-conscious if you haven't somehow joined our Patreon yet. But it would be nice to have you join the party. Patreon.com/churchofchill. It's just $2. You get tons of bonus podcasts and our Church of Chill radio show where we play beautiful music once a week. And yeah, I don't know. There's probably a bunch of other things.
I think it's a great fucking time. I love our Patreon.
I think our Patreon's the best out there.
Yeah.
Not only do I think it's a great time, I look at other ones that I subscribe to, and I subscribe to a lot of Patreons, because if you're an artist and you're not supporting other artists, you ain't an artist, bro. You're an artistic opportunist. So I support a lot of Patreons, and I think ours is the best. Because there's just so much original content on there. And I think the Patreon serves for what it should be, is like, hey, this stuff's behind a paywall because it should be. Mm-hmm. You know, we're getting a little more personal here. We're getting into copyright protected music territory that YouTube won't allow and Spotify won't allow.
Yeah, like I even think of that live stream we did with Noah. He was like, I think I might put this out on my regular Patreon. And I'm like, or on my regular podcast feed. And we're like, no,
we're like, you're crazy. We were talking about threesomes. We were like, people, like, we went on a live stream with Noah. That's another thing we're going to do probably monthly on our Patreon.
That was really fun. I just want to say thank you to everyone who showed up to that, because that ended up being a party. Like,
that was a party. That was
great.
Awesome. I didn't think anyone was going to care or show up, and all these people showed up. And yeah, I mean, like, I would let Noah put it out as a podcast, but it's like, I said stuff I would never say on a podcast recording. You know what I mean? I was answering people's questions. There was a lot of questions about throupling, and I didn't expect that. And I think we were kind of just like a little like, let's not put this
We
out.
were just also in a weird moment in our moment of throupling. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That,
yeah.
I don't know.
We could talk about that a little bit more in the Patreon. We
Yeah.
got some sparkles in our life. All right, we'll see you on the other side. Thanks for joining us. Peace, love, and magic.
Peace, love, and magic. Love you guys.